The diversification trap. Why spreading your money everywhere is losing you money. While most people think that putting money in 10 different places makes them smart investors, the math tells a completely different story. Diversification is one of those words that sounds sophisticated, gets repeated endlessly, and is almost always misunderstood. Done wrong, it doesn't protect your wealth, it quietly destroys it. First, understand what diversification is actually for. The original idea is simple. If you put all your money into one company and that company collapses, you lose everything. If you spread it across many companies, one collapse doesn't ruin you. That's the legitimate version of diversification, protection against the failure of a single asset. What it was never designed to do is maximize returns. It was designed to manage risk. Those are two completely different objectives, and confusing them is where most investors go wrong. The problem with over-diversification: most people, when they discover investing, do the same thing. They buy a bit of this stock, a bit of that ETF, a bond here, some crypto there, maybe gold, maybe a REIT, 15 different positions across 8 different platforms. They feel diversified. They feel protected. What they've actually done is guaranteed themselves average returns at best, and a management nightmare that quietly leaks money in fees, spreads, and tax events every time they rebalance. Here's the uncomfortable truth. If you own 30 different assets, you essentially own the market. You've built a very expensive, very inefficient version of an index fund. The same index fund you could have bought for 0.10% per year with one click and never thought about again. The two types of risk, and only one of them gets rewarded. In finance, risk comes in two flavors. Systematic risk is market-wide risk: recessions, interest rate changes, geopolitical events. This affects everything. You cannot diversify it away. Unsystematic risk is company-specific risk: a bad CEO, a product failure, a fraud scandal. This you can diversify away, and you should. But here's what most people don't realize. The market only compensates you for taking systematic risk. If you take on extra unsystematic risk by concentrating in a few stocks, the market doesn't pay you extra for that. You just get more volatility with no additional expected return, and if you over-diversify, you eliminate unsystematic risk, which is fine, but you also dilute any edge you might have, and you pay more to do it. What actual smart diversification looks like: a single global index ETF, something tracking the MSCI world, already holds over 1,500 companies across 23 developed countries. One position, one fee, fully diversified across sectors, geographies, and company sizes. That's it. That is the diversification that works. Everything you add on top of that is not making you safer. It's making you more complicated, more expensive, and probably less efficient. If you want to add a layer, keep it simple. A small allocation to emerging markets for higher growth potential. Maybe a small cap tilt if you understand what you're doing. That's 2 or 3 positions total. Anything beyond that requires a level of knowledge, time, and conviction that most investors don't have. And pretending otherwise is expensive. The real diversification most people ignore. Here's what actually matters more than owning 30 assets: diversifying across time, investing the same amount every month consistently through market cycles. That's DCA, dollar cost averaging. You buy more when prices are low, less when they're high, automatically. Over a decade, this smooths out the volatility that terrifies most investors. It's not exciting, it doesn't make for good dinner conversation, but it works reliably for people who stick with it. The investors who build real wealth aren't the ones with the most complex portfolios. They're the ones with the simplest strategy, executed consistently over the longest period of time. 1 or 2 positions, monthly contributions, decades of patience. That's it. Everything else is noise dressed up as sophistication.